The Seattle Mariners have scored 48 runs in their 5-game win streak, while the Diamondbacks lost Merrill Kelly and the Red Sox lost Tristan Casas. We'll break down every game here on MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, where we are covering every game, every night, only as the Locked On Podcast Network can do it. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. Follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. I'm the host of the Braves Postcast on Locked On Sports Atlanta, joined by my good friend Steve Lenox. He's on X at Lenox on Baseball, host of the, among others, the Locked On Red Sox Postcast, as well as Locked On Celtics as well. You know, getting some NBA action there. And Steve, the Mariners are rolling, right? They win 13-1 over the Rangers. They have won 5 straight games. They've won 7 of the last 8. They've won 11 of the last 14. And I find it funny that Ty Dane Gonzalez of Locked On Mariners is cautiously optimistic about how the offense is doing right now.
What I'm about to say, I really do. However, this Mariners offense, despite all the injuries it suffered, is kind of starting to make me believe a little bit. This is Ty Dane Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. All facets of the Mariners roster tonight combined like Voltron to put the absolute beat down on the Rangers. 13-1, the final score in this one. It's the second double-digit blowout victory for the Mariners in a week. Brian Wu was sensational tonight, and this offense continues to get production throughout its entire lineup. It's getting elite-level production at the top from guys like Jorge Polanco and Cal Raleigh, who now sits all alone at the top of the Major League leaderboard in home runs with 12 following his 2-homer night, grand slam, 5 RBI for Cal. And the bottom of the order does it again. Yet another good game for the bottom of the order. They kick off yet another big inning. Ryland Thomas with his first career hit and a couple of ribs in his Major League debut. Congratulations to him. Here's a stat for you. The Mariners have now won 5 games in a row. Do you remember the last time they had a winning streak of 5 games or more? It wasn't at any point last year. It was August of 2023 when they were the hottest team on the planet. And then, we all know how that went. But this team is the hottest it's been in a very long time. And we'll see if they can carry it through the weekend. And we'll talk to you guys on the Locked On Mariners podcast on Monday. See you then.
Steve, you saw this team in person in Fenway, when they came to Boston. Is his optimism warranted?
I really think it is. They dropped the first game of that series, and this is going on a 2-week stretch now where they're winning more than they're losing. And we've touched on it, Lindsay. George Kirby hasn't even started yet this year. Logan Gilbert, a few weeks ago, we're like, oh no, is he going to be out for a long time? Well, they're shutting him down for a while. They're going to be cautious and see if he can come back, maybe by the end of the month or early June. But when they won the second 2 games of that series at Fenway against the Red Sox last week, and when teams play the Dodgers, all of a sudden you just want to start paying attention to them because you get that feeling they're going to skyrocket right now. I feel that way about the Blue Jays after they won in comeback fashion each of the previous 2 nights, that they're going to all of a sudden really take off. Their bats are getting alive. But Cal Raleigh's been consistent. Didn't have a great series at Fenway, by the way, but overall, 2 more home runs. Ty mentioned the grand slam. He got the contract and he's running with it. And Julio Rodriguez is starting to come around. And Brian Wu, big part of it. I mean, Rangers had 3 hits on the night. Josh Smith, home run in the 9th inning, spoiled that shutout bid. But, Brian Wu got the win, 4-1, and allowed just 1 base hit. Gave up a 2-out single to Jonah Heim. That wasn't until the 5th inning. He'd retired 14 in a row to start.
That'll definitely help if you're missing George Kirby and Logan Gilbert. Getting outings like that from Brian Wu will definitely do a lot for you. Another team that got a very good outing, not as good, but a very good outing from their starter. The Phillies take down the Diamondbacks at home 3-2. Phillies have now won 5 of 6, so another kind of streak thing there. And Connor Thomas had some thoughts on both the offense and some defense from a guy who's underperformed so far this year.
The Phillies take down the Arizona Diamondbacks behind some huge late home runs and a great play by Johan Rojas. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. And wow, it was a slow game for a little bit there at the start. Jesus Luzardo, awesome once again. He's been a godsend for the Phillies rotation this year. And then Schubert, Kepler, both go yard late. A huge couple of swings out of them. Phillies needed that, put him ahead. Then Jordan Romano and Jose Alvarado shut the door. I mean, Johan Rojas, he's had his defensive miscues the past couple of weeks, but he was outstanding as a defensive replacement tonight, catching a ball, running dead speed into the left center field wall, sacrificing his body for a win. And the Phillies, well, they're well on their way to winning their third straight series. It was a great win. We'll see if they can keep it going tomorrow with Aaron Nola on the mound. We'll talk on Monday on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
So they have Aaron Nola. They feel good about their pitching. The Diamondbacks have to not feel good about their pitching. They lose Merrill Kelly here. He's warming up for the sixth, and he comes out of the game. How concerning is this for Arizona?
You know, every team only has so much depth, and they're going to second and third options now with closer roles. AJ Puck went down, next guy up in that closer role down, and Merrill Kelly. You need length out of your starters if you're going to shorten your bullpen. And he was moving right along until he had to be taken out, as you mentioned, as he's warming up in the sixth inning. Again, with a pitcher, you hope it's nothing serious, but I always compliment them and commend them for the fact that they don't try to pitch through it. Yeah. Get out, get taken care of, get treatment, and figure out the game plan to get him back on the mound. But that would be a another big loss for the Diamondbacks if he's down for a while.
It really would. I kind of put him and Aaron Nola in that same category of guys that maybe aren't the best guys in their rotation, but they can eat innings. They can go out there, they post, they eat innings, and they really need that right now.
Yeah, and Connor said, a godsend for Luzardo, but, if Nola pitches the way, gets back to the way he pitched the last couple of years, they're going to be just fine.
Absolutely. A team that's dealing with a ton of rotation injuries themselves, but got a fantastic performance tonight, the Los Angeles Dodgers. They go into Atlanta, take the series opener 2-1. They've now won 7 of 10 games. And Yamamoto was working on something pretty special. Here's Vince from Locked On Dodgers about just how brilliant he was tonight.
Yamamoto won NL Pitcher of the Month for April, and he's on the way to getting it done in May as well. 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, had a no-hitter going into that 6th inning, and the Dodgers got a win. This is Vince from Locked On Dodgers. It was a 2-1 win for the Dodgers in Atlanta. They played 8 innings. They had to wait about an hour or so, and then they played the 9th inning due to some rain, but it didn't slow the Dodgers down. Evan Phillips shut things down in the 9th. He's looked really good since coming back from the injured list, and Mookie Betts has got it going. He had a few hits in the last few games, picks up 2 hits here, one of them being a home run, that ended up being the difference in the game. If the Dodgers can get Mookie Betts going, that top of the order looks even more dynamic than it normally does. And Yoshino Yamamoto continues his Cy Young season, his NL All-Star starter season. We're going to talk about all of it and more over the weekend, Locked On Dodgers, where we get podcasts and on YouTube.
To his point, Yamamoto's ERA now 0.90. Best in MLB. It was best in MLB entering this game, and he took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. The Dodgers, when he pitches like that, they can't be stopped. Do they have enough starters around that? That's always the question here.
Right, and again, they've had some guys go down here. But again, their depth is better than the Diamondbacks, better than a lot of other teams. They can, you never want to lose somebody, but they can, they have that next man up mentality. I've used that a million times if I've used it once. But they've got guys down in the minors that, somebody goes down, but Yamamoto's acclimated himself to the States. And you expect sort of like what you saw against the Braves Friday night. He's got that, potential for, no-hit baseball during the course of an outing. And, as I love hearing from Vince there of, along the lines of, Mookie Betts has got to get going. This is a Dodgers lineup. And there have been some lineups around baseball that go into a collective funk 1 through 9. The Dodgers don't do that. Guy might be down for a couple of days or a week here, in a 2 for 27 slide, but other guys in the lineup are usually picking them up.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. There's plenty of guys in that lineup. Tommy Edman was nuclear early in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another team that is kind of going now, more so I think on the pitching side than the offensive side. Rockies take down the Giants 4-0. Rockies are only 5-5 in their last 10 games, but they've closed the gap in the West. Or 2.5 games back of LA. Robbie Ray is just dominant in this one. Here's our guy Ben Caspic from Locked On Giants. More about what Ray did tonight.
Robbie Ray's gem tonight gets the San Francisco Giants back on track, snaps their 3-game losing streak, and gets them their 20th win of the year. This is Ben Caspic with the Locked On Giants podcast. Giants improved to 20-13 as Robbie Ray pitched beautifully. 7 shutout innings. It is the Colorado Rockies, but hey, they lost against the Colorado Rockies yesterday, so it's not that easy. But nonetheless, I mean, the Giants have not lost a start that Robbie Ray has made this year. That's 7 starts. And he lowered his season ERA to 3.05. And so that's a big deal for a team that kind of beyond Logan Webb hasn't really had a lot of greatness in the rotation. But Robbie Ray is kind of emerging as that guy who's getting the job done. And another guy who figures to be in that mix long term is Hayden Birdsong, and he threw 2 really nice innings to close this one out. Matt Chapman homer, just an easy 4-0 win, and Jordan Hicks and Logan Webb with the last 2 against the Rockies trying to hopefully win 3 out of 4 and win those games. So we'll break this all down on Monday on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
Just a good win for the Giants. When we get back from break, I want to hear from you about this Tristan Casas injury in the Red Sox win over the Twins. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles. EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty, games like that, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. If you already have a console, Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games with you wherever you can plug in. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. Okay, Steve. So the Twins come into Fenway, lose their matchup to the Red Sox 6-1, but Boston's not really celebrating right now because Tristan Casas looks like a pretty serious leg injury in the 2nd inning. What can you tell us about what happened and kind of what it looked like to you?
Yeah, he just hit a little roller up the first base side. The ball was not fielded cleanly. Went as an error on the pitcher as Casas was able to reach. But as he got to first base, the left leg extended to get to the bag. And it just, you could almost tell, he crumpled to the ground beyond the bag. And that the leg just buckled. And, not going to play a doctor here. Don't play a doctor in real life. But, it seemed like it was the left knee. And he was down for a while. Alex Cora was out there. The athletic training staff was out there. I believe one of the team doctors may have been out there. They brought a stretcher from the stands or from down in the tunnel from the third base or from the beyond the first base dugout. And then they brought in a golf cart as well that you would see a football player be taken out on. But, and Casas just had a look on his face like, defeated. But, Tristan Casas is one of those guys, you don't know if he's having a great day or a bad day. But Friday was a bad day. It seems like it's severe. Alex Cora after the game said, hey, more tests. But even the way he said it, it was along the lines of like, we know this is a serious injury. And, starting to come around with the bat a lot. There are guys who, there are people who don't like the quirkiness of Tristan Casas and don't want to see him in the lineup and are probably going to be happy and smile. You don't do that. And there are other people who are big Tristan Casas fans and, believe that there's talent there, that he could be the everyday first baseman. But for a second straight year, it's looking like he's going to miss an extended period of time. And I don't know that we don't wake up either tomorrow, Sunday, or Monday, and Casas is out with a season-ending injury.
Oh, it's just tough to hear. The Athletics head into Miami. They take down the Marlins 6-1. Debut of Gunnar Hogland, and I think he did really well. Here's our guy Booney with some of his thoughts on what he saw from one of the team's top pitching prospects.
Hogland just made his major league debut for the A's and left the Marlins wondering what the hell just hit them. This is Booney from Locked On A's, and Gunnar Hogland, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 Ks, pure filth. This wasn't a debut. This was a warning shot. Miami's lineup looked like they were trying to hit in the dark. And to rub it in, JJ Bleday came back to his old stopping grounds and torched his former team. 2 for 4, homer, double, 3 runs scored. Yeah, that one felt personal. The A's had 6 first-round picks in the lineup tonight. 4 top 10 picks. Add Rooker and Butler mashing, the rotation settling in, and a bullpen that's locking it down. That's not a rebuild. That's a problem for the rest of the league. I told you all this offseason. The A's are really, really good. I guaranteed they would make the playoffs and got laughed at. But here's the kicker. We're not even playing good baseball yet. Keep sleeping. A's 6, Marlins 1.
Is Booney right to be that confident in the A's?
I want them to be competitive in September. I do believe playing in a AAA ballpark for your home games, there's circumstances they're trying to make the best of it. But over the course of the season, is there going to be wear and tear? You're just not getting the sleep that you would if you were, in a big league city of Oakland. I'm sure by now they're acclimated. But one of the best things I like about this team right now is their road record. They're 12-6 on the road, and there's a lot to like. You mentioned all those former first-round picks and top 10 guys, and Hogland's another one. How many of these guys, Bleday, Vandy Boy, Vanderbilt, you can rattle off so many of them, Rooker. So many of these guys are out of the SEC, right, where you know an awful lot about the baseball in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's SEC baseball. It's the highest level of amateur baseball. The coaches all say that, and you're kind of seeing some of the fruits of that tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Mets travel to St. Louis against the Cardinals. 9-3 victory for New York. 17 hits in this victory. I mean, everybody does stuff. Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, everybody. Here's Chris Schubert from the Locked On Mets postcast about the big victory for the Metropolitans.
Get a dart, throw it at the box score tonight for the New York Mets, and you are bound to land on somebody who had a big day. Chris Schubert, host of the Locked On Mets postcast, here after the Mets defeat the Cardinals 9-3 in the opener of this series, their 5th consecutive win this season against the Cardinals. And like I said, you can pick anybody from this game, but I think the focus for a lot of Mets fans is Juan Soto. A 2-hit day today, a 114-mile-per-hour double right after he hit 2 home runs in the series finale against the Diamondbacks. This looks like a totally different hitter. He feels way more comfortable out there. It seems like he is hitting the ball all over the place. And instead of making those weak ground outs, his outs are loud. His outs are to the opposite field. He's driving the ball to the deep part of the ballpark, but he's also contributing. 2 hits tonight, the 2 home runs in the Diamondback series finale. It is just a different Juan Soto. And if he has really turned it on, if he has really gotten hot, the rest of the National League needs to look out.
Mets are 22-11. They have a 3.5 game lead in the NL East. Does the rest of the league need to look out for the Mets?
Oh, absolutely. And, Chris said there, he's not even close. He's showing signs. There's glimpses. He's not even close to what he's going to be doing probably in a couple more weeks. And I was looking up and down that lineup. Alvarez also had a good game, just back from injury. They get McNeil back, who I've never been a big fan of his, but I mean, he makes contact. But this looks more like an American League lineup. We've had the DH in both leagues for a while now, but the Mets really have this lineup stacked. And Soto's a big part of that. Alonso's gotten off to a good start. Nimmo's starting to come around. Lindor, always bad starts. And I mean, he's been terrific in the leadoff spot. So if Lindor just continues to get on base, Soto's going to get his RBIs. He's going to get his opportunities. He's going to be just fine. And I think by the end of this month, we're going to be talking about a torrid streak for the Mets right fielder.
Yeah. Getting Mark Vientos going, I think, is a
Yeah,
big part
I
to
love that
lengthen
one
that
too.
lineup
Yep.
a lot, especially because you can move him to clean up and it's really deep there. Okay. Nationals travel to Cincinnati, take on the Reds in that tiny ballpark. Reds win 6-1. Another team with a win streak. They've won 7-9. They've allowed 17 runs in those 7 wins. So, it's barely 2.5 runs a game. Here's Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds with some of his thoughts on just the dominance of Hunter Green in this one.
If your team had Hunter Green on it, you'd be smiling this big too. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and Hunter Green dominated, absolutely shut down the Washington Nationals lineup, which, by the way, the Washington Nationals lineup has actually been pretty good so far this year. But Hunter Green got 12 strikeouts in 6 innings. And his final strikeout of the night, dude literally threw his bat as he was swinging. Hunter Green's stuff was just that good. And of course, the lineup helped them out. Big 6-1 victory. Tyler Stevenson returning to the lineup. Hadn't played for the Reds all season long. He got 2 doubles on the night. Absolutely great to see him back in the lineup. They actually had him a little bit lower than I think he will end up being, but overall, this night was about Hunter Green. 6 innings, 1 run. It was a solo home run. Absolutely brilliant. Looking so forward to see if the Reds can win this series because they need to win this series. Game 2 coming up tomorrow.
A couple more games I want to kind of get to rapid fire here before we hit the break. I'll take Rays, Yankees, just so you don't have to talk about the Yankees as a Boston guy. Yankees hosting Tampa Bay. They win 3-0. Rays have a grand total of 1 hit. 5th shutout of the year. All 5 of those shutouts the shutouts of Tampa Bay Rays have been in the last 2 weeks. So just really kind of rough here. Max Fried, 1 AL pitcher of the month on Friday, turns around 7 innings, just that 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He is now 6-0 with an ERA of 1.01. We talked about Yamamoto being the NL frontrunner for Cy Young. Fried's got to be the AL frontrunner for Cy Young. So just been fantastic. And this is New York, hit a couple of home runs here. They lead baseball with 54.
And Lindsay, they dropped 2 out of 3 earlier in the week to the Orioles, and I'm thinking maybe that gets the Orioles on track, and they pick up a 3-0 victory at home in Baltimore against the Royals on Friday night in the series opener of that weekend series. And the loss does snap Kansas City's 3-game losing streak. Dean Kramer, 7 scoreless. They need length from their starters.
They needed that.
We can talk about a lot of teams that way. But Kramer, 7 scoreless, strikes out just 2. He's 3-4 with the win. But then you get Cano and Bautista behind him to preserve the shutout. They both work a scoreless inning. And Bobby Witt, all good things come to an end. 0 for 4, 22-game hit streak. Now a thing of the past.
Oh, you always hate to see that. Yeah, he had 29 hits, 2 home runs, 10 RBI in that streak, but it just eventually it happens. Hey, first time the Orioles have a shutout this year. Congratulations, Baltimore Orioles. Padres at Pirates. Padres take this 9-4. They went from losing 4 in a row where they scored 3 runs total to now winning 3 straight with 21 runs. Luis Arraez, obviously back in the lineup after that scary concussion, 3 hits, 3 RBI. But Fernando Tatis gets hit by a pitch from Mitch Keller in the 3rd. Saw the pictures on social media, looked like awful on the arm. Left the game. X-rays were negative. We'll see if he's able to make it in to the lineup over the weekend or if he has to miss a couple games. But Dylan Cease, only 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks to 3 strikeouts. Not typically a Dylan Cease performance, especially going against a weaker offensive team in the Pirates.
Yeah, the Pirates just 1-3 now on this 6-game homestand. Buccos, boy, it was weird seeing Paul Skeens get lit up the other day. I'll tell you that. You had that one.
Absolutely, just not a thing that we're used to seeing. In just a second, I want to talk about the Cubs because we talk about somebody lighting somebody up. The Cubs did a little bit of that. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. Okay, so the Cubs went into Milwaukee and took down the Brewers. And this game, 10-0. I somehow typed 3-0 on my score sheet here. 10-0 Cubs over the Brewers. Sam Ober from Locked On Cubs, one of our favorites on this show, has some strong feelings about how this game went.
Statement made. If you're somebody that believes in early season statements, then the Chicago Cubs just made one in Milwaukee, blowing out the Brewers by a score of 10-0. I'm Sam Ober from the Locked On Cubs podcast, and folks, this team might just be really, really good, and this offense might just be for real. Shout out to Ben Brown, who was really good today. 6 shutout innings, but this was all about this offense. A huge grand slam from Michael Busch. He continues his good work. 2 home runs from Pete Crow Armstrong. Folks, I don't know what more we have to see. Yes, he swings at a lot of pitches, but one of the home runs he hit today was a ball that was going to be in the dirt. He's just that good. Let Pete be Pete. We keep talking about Kyle Tucker as a superstar, as we should. But the Cubs might very well have 2 superstars, or at least another one that's blossoming, and that's a guy by the name of Pete Crow Armstrong. Let's see if the Cubs can take this series Saturday night. Stay hot.
As a Braves fan, I can confidently say the best defensive center fielder I've seen in person since Andrew Jones is Pete Crow Armstrong. And the fact that he can start hitting like this,
that's a lot from you.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, as a Braves fan, I watched Andrew as live. I've seen PCA live. He's that caliber of defender. If he starts hitting like this, that's potentially MVP quality play right there.
And from this show, I'm going to take, it's going to be Mariners Cubs, Ty and Sam, World Series come October, because they are there's cautious optimism, but their reports tonight, they're starting to really believe. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to live with those two in another month if they keep winning the way they are in Seattle, and for the Cubs in Chicago as well. But hey, great to see. They're putting it together. I still, the Cubs, I think they can be one of the most aggressive teams at the trade deadline, because they can afford to take on as much as they want, still understanding Kyle Tucker's got to be a piece of us for the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, they need to show him that they're willing to commit as many resources as possible to winning so that they can get him to stay. And if they could just re-sign him during the season, that'd be a huge coup. But at the very least, yeah, that's big. Okay, Astros at White Sox. White Sox win this 7-3 with their new City Connects, Chicago Bulls-inspired uniforms. Luis Robert continues his hot week. We talked about him robbing a home run yesterday. He hits a 2-out solo shot in the 5th of this one. Edgar Cuero, 2 hits, 2 RBI. It's that rookie catcher there for the White Sox. Framber Valdez drops to 1-4. Gives up 4 runs over 5 innings here. Any concerns about the Houston Astros from Steve Lenox?
I don't know right now, because in my notes right here it says Hunter Brown pitches on Saturday. Let's see how that plays out, because he's becoming the front guy in your rotation.
Yeah,
with what he's been able to do. But Framber Valdez, 1-4, 4 runs allowed in 5 innings. You expect more out of him. I think the Astros are just going to be one of those teams all season long. They're going to hover. And they're going to have stretches. Again, I feel like I'm beating the drum, but they're going to have stretches where it's like, absolutely. They're going to have the same optimism as Ty in Seattle and Sam in Chicago. And then the next week, it's going to be like, the sky's falling, and, why do we give up Kyle Tucker, and why didn't Alex Bregman come back? And all those things will come out to fest again.
We might have to add Booney to that list, because the A's are now in 2nd place in the West. They're a game up on Houston and only 2 behind Seattle. Did not think I would say that this early in the 2025 season. Okay, Guardians at Blue Jays. Blue Jays win 3rd game in a row for them. They scored some runs late for the 3rd straight game, so nobody circles the wagons like the Toronto Blue Jays. Nathan Lukes, 3-3 tie in the 8th. He hits a 2-run single. George Springer had a solo shot in this one. Jeff Hoffman gave up a hit and a walk in the 9th, but he got his 7th save. It feels like the power production has really turned for the Blue Jays. They struggled early in the year. They've hit a couple home runs in the last couple games. Are you a believer that some of these power hitters, Anthony Santander in his new home, Vlad Guerrero with the new contract, that they've settled in and can really make something happen now for Toronto?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to have a good couple of weeks here. And as bad as they played, losing the series opener earlier in the week against the Red Sox at home, they came back late in both games against the Red Sox bullpen, walked one off in 10, and then one with Vladdy hitting a big home run against Slayton on Thursday night. This team has power, and they're going to hit their share of home runs over the course of the season. Didn't happen early on in the season, but Santander off Whitlock a couple of nights ago in that Red Sox series, they took 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox this series. They took 3 out of 4 in April at Fenway. I'm a believer just because they've beaten the heck out of the Red Sox, and I do believe in their pitching. What they have in middle relief could be a big factor for them during the year. But Hoffman at the end, I like him, and you want to say Gosman and Bassett are long in the tooth? Yeah, they are, but they're quality big league pitchers, and they can go out there and understand that they're going to give you 6 innings and 3 runs or less. With this offense, that should lead to winning baseball and consistent baseball, I think, going forward.
Yeah. On the note of the home runs, they had 16 in the first 29 games. They have 6 in the last 3 days. So there you go. Final game of the night, Tigers at Angels. 9-1 win for the Tigers. Angels have lost 7 straight games now, and they are 3-4 in their last 17. They put Mike Trout on the IL with a bone bruise in his knee. Riley Green for the Tigers went off in this one. He had 2 home runs, 4 RBI. How concerned should we be about the Angels? They are in last place. They're 12-19, so 7 games back, but they are the second worst team in the American League by win-loss record.
Yeah, and you dig yourself, you've dug yourself in a hole, and all the teams that we've talked about. There are teams that are hovering around 500. There are teams that have gotten off to very good starts and a handful of games over 500. Take an awful lot the Angels get back in there. The biggest concern for me is John at some point is going to say, I don't want to host anymore with Steve on MLB Game Night because, I think the first time we hosted, I don't think he was prepared for this, but he basically said, hey, we've enjoyed a decent start. We're going to enjoy it now because the sky is falling on us, and it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And it really has since we were together for the first time.
Flip side is he's been hosting the Angel show long enough where he has to be used to losing by now. He really does. Folks, this has been MLB Game Night for Friday, May 2nd. Do us a favor. You're listening on audio. Leave a 5-star review on the Locked On MLB feed. Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses nowadays for their podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to Locked On MLB. Hit the notification bell because this show, MLB Game Night, is every game, every single night, 7 days a week, and the way that only the Locked On Podcast Network can provide. So until tomorrow, this has been MLB Game Night.